So here we are, this is actually the public footpath that leads to St Kenelms, just right here. Looking right the way behind, we've got an entrance into Offmore Woods. But where we're going is just down by Spring Farm, and on the left where the gates come to, there should be another public footpath what ventures off on the left. I think it's just onto that corner there. Let's go and take a look. Yeah, this is it. It does say you can actually walk right in front, and I don't typically know where right in front even goes. I've never walked it. I know there's one going that way that leads you back to the dual carriageway down the back, but this way will take you right the way up to St Kenelms. It's a nice back way to it instead of going the main road. But you can just see there, look at that, there's like a spring down here. That's actually why this is called Spring Farm. The spring that runs all the way across it, all the way at the top where St Kenelms is. And if you're guessing what val is, that is actually the River Stour. And the River Stour flows all the way up from the top up St Kenelms, comes all the way down here, and it will venture off all the way down to Halesowen. That's actually what that is there on the corner. And the one thing that I love about this walk is the churches. And if many of you love old architecture and history, the churches are always a really good place to go. Now, I've been to St Kenelms and been in there before. Whether it's open today, I really don't know. St Leonard's Church at Lower Clent, I've done that one, and that's a beautiful church. The architecture in there is unreal. It's just beautiful, stained glass windows, the way like it's been designed inside, similar to Hagley Hall, the church there. But that's what I love about them, is the history, because it ties into the local area. Churches were the main point of the history of the area, going back many years ago, some date into the Domesday Book. But this walk in general, I just love coming through these paths just right the way in front, because you're surrounded by trees, fields, and this is a good chance to spot wildlife from time to time. I can hear wildlife now, but seeing the River Stour flowing down, you can just see there's a bit of water trickling down because of the water, the rain what we've had. I can just imagine that as that gets further down, there's a bit of a rise on that river. But it's very muddy down here as well because of the rain. Oh, I slipped into a bit of mud then. But you need the appropriate footwear for this walk if you're going this way. But in the summer, it's definitely perfect. I do love it. So I wasn't expecting this today. I was only expecting light rain. It was supposed to clear up, but because Clent, you aren't really higher up to where St Kenelms, Clent and Watermill, you do get kind of terrible weather when it comes down like this. But you can just see, look at the heavy rain, what's coming down. I'm so glad by the relief of this tree, I'm sort of getting the best cover here, sort of. But back with you when I get to St Kenelms, and I'm going to keep my camera dry. So here we are, this is actually the source of the River Stour. It's actually stopped raining a little bit, which is a relief. We carefully got onto there. It does say here, the legend of St Kenelm. It says, it is said that the spring which burst forth on the site marks the spot where St Kenelm, Prince of Mercia, died. And it says there, the spot rises a spring where he was murdered. And it says buried 820 AD, and the surrounding land was donated to St Kenelm's Church by Viscount Cobham in 1985. So it's quite interesting to look at the history of the St Kenelm, the legends, and if the church is open I will show you around it. It's really beautiful in there. But let's get to the top. I've only got like a short walk to get up to the top up to here. So right, this is St Kenelm's Church. Just look at it, look at the architecture right the way out there. If I just pan around to show you, look at that, that is really stunning and really old. Just imagine how far that really dates back. Got some like gargoyle things poking right the way out where the bell tower is. And stunning architecture all the way around. I will show you outside the church when I come out, and I can't believe it, choose the right day. It's actually open to show you. But look in there, you can just see more features just onto the church. Look, if I zoom in, and it's all sandstone on the outside. But let's go and make our way in and show you St Kenelm's church. So right, look at the beautiful patterns as you walk in. Look at that. That is really stunning to see the front porch. How it's got a lot of wooden at the top, look. And it's got patterns just right the way in there. I mean, look at that. It's just amazing the way how they carve all this out, the architecture. Look at that. Amazing. So right, this is the church. It is pretty dark in here, so I might have to try and get some light in. We just close the door. We'll have a sit down. But as we walk down, you can just see the stained glass windows right out there, look. Look at that, absolutely beautiful. The colours are in them, it's so amazing. I do know some of the stained glass windows in some churches were donated by several companies. But looking right the way down, the front bit there, that is just beautiful. The stained glass there, the colours. You just see how old, panning around, how old some of the stuff is. I will just show you the ceiling. But you can just see, zooming round. I might have to get a bit of torch on, I'll get torch on for you to show the ceiling in a minute. But the ceiling's beautiful. But you can just see right the way down, there's like an upstairs part there. And you just see all the pews when I look round, look. Look at that. I do love St Kenelm's church. It's just nice just to come up for a walk when you're passing by and come and take a look, because this is really old. The old church part of Romsley. Look at that. So it does say here, I've looked online and I've found a little bit of information. So it does state that according to disapproved legend, the church is built on the site of the murder of St Kenelm, as mentioned earlier. The boy, Prince of Mercia, in 819 AD, the holy spring rose from the ground and a shrine was built, which became a chapel of ease to Halesowen Abbey. That's interesting. And later was made a parish church in 1841. The church retains a substantial proportion of its Norman masonry, including the impressive tympanum and mouldings of its south doorway. The striking detail of its west tower in the C15 jetted porch are also of particular note. It is beautiful to see how the front porch, the architecture, and I will just show the ceiling in a minute, and the windows, some of the stained glass windows just like right there. And it's beautiful just to have a look at them, especially when the sun's shining through. It does really bring up the colours to them. But what I'm going to do is just show you one more around the church, and then what we're going to do is head up to the top of the Clent Road. We're going to go and make our way to St Leonard's church. So, and then I'm going to walk down there to show you that one, because it is really stunning. If that one's open, it's definitely a bonus. But let's just show you around it, and I'll just show the architecture. So yeah, now I've got a torch, you can just see just about inside the church a bit more better. Look at the ceiling. If I zoom in, you can just see the very, very old beams right the way at the top. They've been painted over. I can imagine they are the original beams, but they've been painted to protect them. But just walking down, I mean, you can just see right there, look, the windows, looking right the way up there, look. Very freezing in here. But looking right the way there, look at that. And the windows up there. It's like ladders right there, look. Look at that. Just walking right the way down, look at the windows. Look how beautiful those are, stained glass. But just looking one more time, you have got the Baptist stand right here, look. Look at the Baptist stand there. Wow. And panning round, look at the door. The door is pretty cool, look at that. Wow. And far back, I mean, there is like memorials for the war. I think that's like the Second World War up there. I'm looking round, and you've got the very far back pews what overlook the front, look. Look at those. That's quite cool. Romsley Kenelms, look at that. But just one more pan down, you can just see one more look of the church from the back there, look. Absolutely amazing just to see it. can just see there, it says information in brief. It says the legend of St Kenelm has been told many times. When the King Kenulf of Mercia died in 819, he was succeeded by his 7-year-old son Kenelm, and Kenelm's sister was jealous of his good fortune and arranged for him to be murdered by his tutor, Asgerbert. The murder was revealed by various miraculous means, including a letter dropped by a dove on a high altar of St Peter's in Rome, while the Pope was celebrating Mass. Kenelm's body was recovered and returned to his ancestral home in Winchcombe. So Winchcombe's another interesting place. If I can ever get a chance, I will go to Winchcombe and show you the different parts of his stuff to do with St Kenelm's down that way. And it says there, the sister's eyes fell out as a punishment for her wickedness. He says St Kenelm's Church in Romley is said to have been built on the exact place where Asgerbert murdered the young king, although there is some reason to believe that parts of the church are of the earlier date. Much of the present fabric dates from the 12th century. In the 14th century, the interior was extensive, decorated with wall paintings and illustrative legend. Let's have a look down into here. It does actually show you some really interesting stuff. I mean, there's a painting there, zooming right the way in. Don't be able to see it. It says the crudely carved figure, perhaps of St Kenelm. Look at that. Some of you will find this really interesting. Just looking there, I mean, there's so much information about Kenelm. If you want to pause the video and read some of this all carefully, just scroll down to there just to show you. Look at that, a lot of information. And especially if you want to read bits of that, you can feel free to pause the video if you want to and read that. Let's have a look, see if you can find any more. You can just see, looking at this one, it's very hard to make out, but you can just see two figures really old. Look at that. And what does that even state? It says the coronation of King Kenelm. That's actually a coronation photo. That is so old. Looking across, there's even more. Look at this one. There's even like looks like a bull on a tree with like a load of like people on there. There's actually people by the tree, and that is actually said the Kenelm's body revered by a cow. Look at that. Some strange stuff. And you can see there, it says something there. One of the party escorting Kenelm's body to Winchcombe. You see a photo there, look. And what else is in here? And that's actually the confrontation of Piriford. Look at that. And even more. He says there, fragment of the wall decorations. Interesting book. I'm really glad I got to show you that. And that is actually, when you go into St Kenelm's Church, if you do want to see this or read it, it is just placed right the way there by the front here where the altar is, so you can actually read that. But what an interesting place. I've got to sit here for hours. It is just so relaxing. I mean, just to come here and see the old history and architecture of a church, wow, absolutely really beautiful. I can't wait to get to the next one. It isn't really too far, so it is quite a nice walk down to it. But just looking round one more time behind me, you can just see, look at that. But yeah, let's go and turn these off and we'll go and head out. We'll turn these off. This door's quite heavy. So it was quite nice seeing that church. Really enjoyed it for a change. Right, let's close the door. There we go. And I'm going to go and show the outside of it now, just onto the sides. But you can just see the outside. I mean, the sandstone is so old. It's got some carvings on it. I have seen dates of the 1800s. You can just see I think that's 1867, I believe it could be. And all these like written initials just on the wall. You can just see some up there, look. Quite a lot of old writing. Just imagine how old this sandstone could potentially be. I mean, how old the church is dating back. But just looking around, let's have a quick look. I'm going to go out that way, I think. But you can just see the back of the church from where I was. I think it has got an underground part, like a cellar, but the cellar's blocked off because I think there was a door behind there, but obviously public access are not allowed behind it. You just see, look at the dates there, there is even old writing there, look at that. But looking across, I mean, that is really old. You can just tell how old the building is because it's sort of like decaying very slowly. Look at the walls. But I mean as well, not just the church, but I mean looking back, look at the architecture looking far back at that. The graveyard is also old in some certain parts. Some of the graves date to the 1800s, like this one here. That's actually dating to 1857. A majority of them are dating really far back, like all these ones here, look. And also the graves that are more situated here. But it's nice to see there's even an old light situated in there. Look at the light. Look at that. And it's quite cool. But the next location where we're heading, I'm going to go straight up to the main road, and it does bring you out to the top of Clent, where you can split off to Walton Hill, and the right just before me in front will go to Clent Hills where the Nimins is. But we're going to go straight down into the village, and that is actually where St Leonard's Church is actually situated at the bottom of there. And it's going to have a long journey and get to this next location. So right, this is the walking route what I'm doing. It does get a bit busy because you get the cars come up and down to get to Wuffmore section. But just right in front is one of these steep roads. You can just see Clent starting to appear right around the corners, right away at the top. But I chose this route because it'll be less, I just don't want to get too muddy going through Clent or Walton Hill. But I'm going to save the two best pieces to another video. So right, the road on the left, that is Walton Hill, right the way over there, Adams Hill. On this side here is the Nimins, as you can see zooming right the way, and you can just see the tree line. And that one's actually owned by the National Trust on that side. I believe that side as well is also owned. But the highest vantage point is that side over there where you can see much of the view. But the views over on Walton Hill are so stunning. I've definitely got to show you that when I get time. But up there, that is actually a nice walking route up to Clent Hills. So what I love about this walk is you've got the two sides, look, again. But you can just see right the way into the valleys on this walk, down to the bottom where the fields are, covering the both two sides. It's just really beautiful going down into the village. And that's what I love about this road walk, is seeing both sides at the same time. You see, looking right over there, you can just see it, look. Look at that. Look at the side of Clent. I mean, the beautiful trees in the distance. Look at that. I mean, all the leaves are dropped, and it's like a really steep path that goes right out there. Just imagine that. How could you walk that? That is just so steep up. It goes on the slope like that. And I remember going back when I was very young, coming down there. I never knew what that path was. I come skidding top to bottom down there, and I always remember that path. But it's beautiful just to see the trees how they've come down on the floor, giving it like a nice red effect. It's really beautiful. But seeing that, that's what I love about this walk, is just enjoying the views of what we got. That is just so beautiful. I really do love it. So right here we are, St Leonard's Church. Just right the way here, you can just see I've just entered from the side of it, from the graveyard, just looking right the way there. And this is the church itself. This is really old, this church. This is actually another one similar to St Kenelm's. But look at the style of it from the outside of it. You wouldn't think it was a church when I come through, you'd think it's like an old house, but when you look from the side of it from here, that's when you realise it's a church, look, with the bell tower just sticking right the way up. Like castellated right about the top, look. Really beautiful. You just tell how old it is by the brickwork. I'm hoping 100% this is open. It's been a while since I've been to St Leonard's. But once more, you can just see the patterns that I'm appearing from the side. Look at the building. Look at that. So right, after fixing that camera problem, here we are. This is St Leonard's Church from the inside. We have to give you a tour around the place. It is a really nice church. But look at that. That's actually the front part, but the windows aren't stained glass. You can just see right there, look. But panning around, you can see the church bells. The church bells are just gone. You can just literally hear them. But I'll show you the front of it here. You can just see here, look. St Leonard's, Clent, look at that. You've got the flag. Different parish. But surprising that's not really stained glass window to see the front altar part here, look. Look at that. And you can just see up there, look, you've got the Reverend, last Reverend Adolphus Hopkins just there. I think there's a date on there, 1800s. You can just see how old that one is, one more. But panning around, look at this one. You've got all the reverence up here, look. Really cool. And there's a date into the 1800s, 1900s. Well, do these lights actually turn on? There's actually lights here. Let's have a look. Oh wow, look how beautiful that is. The lights have actually turned on. It actually revealed the wooden beams at the top ceiling. Look at that. That is so beautiful up there. That's really cool. Really glad to see this church like this and a day open on the weekend. So if you've never been down to this church, it's definitely worth to come and check out. And then looking down, you've got the nice patterns onto here, look. The patterns of that. That is really cool, leading up to the arch on the ceiling. Look at that. Wow. And then when you come down to this part, this bit here is really cool as well. And you can just see there, the arches from this side, look. Look at the arches. And from there, look. Really cool, stunning architecture. But what's beautiful about this church, once more, is the stained glass windows, what I'm situated on the left side of the church when you walk in. Look at this, and this was actually erected in 1885. There's some really nice colours into these stained glass windows. And then showing you that stained glass window there, that has got some really more darker colours. I can imagine that one's really old. I think that's in 1919, as you can see. But looking here, we've got something else interesting. This is actually a polished plaque. Look at that. It's got some old writing right the way at the bottom. Really cool. And you've got this glass window here. Look at this one. That was actually erected. It says there, Jacob Stokes of Clent Grove in his parish who died in November. It's got some Roman numerals on there. So if I zoom in, you might be able to just read that and understand that a bit more better. Oh wow, look at that. I've got an eagle. Eagle on a stand, look. And you got another flag here, St Leonard Clent. Zooming right the way in and out to show you. So like the Hagley Hall Church, this is probably the same size in total. When you go around, it's kind of wider. Compared to the last church what I just went in, that one, St Kenelms, is much more smaller. But look in here, this is the last stained glass window I'll probably show you because there's no more in here after this one. You see zooming in, look at the patterns in that one. So I've just found a nice little history book here for you, what's been made for the public when you enter the church. It says the ancient parish church of St Leonard has existed since at least the 12th century. The date of the earliest recorded being 1199, and it is quite possible indeed that there was a church here on this site before William the Conqueror, but there is not a mention of it in the Domesday survey. This cannot be taken as definite proof either way. Churches were not taxable resource and were not always recorded. The chancel and nave, built in the local sandstone, date from then, if not earlier, and the south aisle was added in about 1270. That is quite crazy to see how far this church really does date back. And like what I said earlier, churches do hold much of the history for the local area, because the churches were built way back before that, and it's just amazing how far they really do date back. A rebuilding, including the tower and reconstructed chancel, took place in the first half of the 15th century, but the beautiful original barrel vaulted chancel roof was preserved. The last major reconstruction was in the time of Queen Victoria in the mid-19th century, when the porch was reconstructed and the upper vestry and north aisle added. We will therefore hear of some 800 years of history, and he says there, St Leonard was a martyr living in France in the 6th century, and today is the patron of St Prisoners. His ecclesiastical symbols are chains. That's quite cool, that is. And when you're walking around, it does tell you like the different features of what you can get into the church itself. I will just tell you one of them. Let's pan into the middle of the page. It does say here the church tower. I will tell you a bit of information about the church tower, which you may see when I come out the building. This has 3 stages: the choir vestry, the ringing chamber and the bell chamber, with embattled parapet and angled buttresses. The 4 original bells date from later than 1681, and a further 4 were added in 1718 and 1902. The present clock and tower dates from around 1870. Wow, it's quite back a bit. And just looking down, I mean, there is even more information, and there's more there. Pretty cool. I've got a copy of this, so I might do a PDF copy some later point so you can have a look at this. But really interesting. But I'm going to take about a 25-minute break, have a rest here for a bit. But our next journey is down to something interesting. I will show you like a little castellated like ruin thing down the bottom. And then we'll be heading into the Hagley Hall Estate by St John's, just show the outside of it. And then that'll be it for the parish walk. It's been an interesting walk so far just to come down to it, because I've always wanted to come back to St Leonard's Church. So I'll give you some really cool cinematics for you now. Just to show you around the church and give you a brief overview. And there's the church bells. Really cool. So enjoy the cinematics and see you on the outside of the church. So right, just come to the outside of the church now, just by the side look. And you just see the architecture up there. You've got the bell tower right the way at the top. It was nice to see inside the church, especially all the like talking about the old history and having a look around there. But that is St Leonard's. Just notice the weather's starting to pick up now. I can just feel a bit of the wind. I'm glad it stopped raining for a change. But yeah, we'll walk back round and we'll go and take the other route down. So this is the route I'm going to go back down. But you can just see some of the stained glass windows, what was there, look. But looking for the church one more time from this corner, absolutely amazing. Well, I mean, I was talking to a nice chap in there. He was really lovely. He was talking to me about, he was from Worfield, and he was talking about like the history of the church, and you know, he asked me why I like coming to churches. And the main reason why I like coming to a church is, like I mentioned before, it's the architecture. You don't have to have a belief in religion just to come to a church. It's the building what attracts me mainly. And it's like I was telling him, back in the Black Country days, in the old days, everybody used to go to like Sunday churches. used to go to a church on a Sunday, but it all vanished out over time because the education of this type of stuff disappeared, making people believe in different things and go their own ways. So churches, it's surprising to see if they are really clinging still on in the Black Country and surrounding areas. But it's just nice to have these here for the architecture and the way it was built in the early days. This is where most of our history lies, is the churches, chapels that surround the local areas. And just right behind me is quite interesting because, talking about history, you can just see there the old dates. Look at the dates on that wall: 1836, 1848. So you can just imagine how many people was walking in and out of this church at St Leonard's, and also the other parish at St Kenelms. It's just amazing just to see how far it really does date back. I really do love the history of it. So right, this is the next route we're taking from the church. Just right behind me, you can just see one more time St Leonard's on the junction from where the village is. That goes right away out for where I come from. This is Odnell Lane, the one we're taking down to show you this next part. Before I just pan around, I've seen this before. There's actually a nice little stream that runs across the path. Look at this. Now in the summer this doesn't really come out. I don't know if it's like some sort of like storm drain or something. Look, you see all the water trickling out. That goes all the way down. It's a nice little feature to have by a path though like this. But just right at the top there's like a little castellati thing that I want to show you. Really interesting. So like I say, not many people actually visit the lower parts of Clent. Maybe because the top of Clent is a visitor's attraction with the Nimins and the Water Hill. That's what I like, is the bottom areas, because you've got the nice, still got the nice views like that in the distance. If I just pan around, you can just see further off the back. Look at this. Excuse the wind because it is going to get really windy now. Like I said, the weather's got to pick up a little bit, but it's clearing. But look, right around the distance, right away over there, look at that. You can just start to see the views right over the back. It's lovely to see the lower Clent like this from a walk. You're in the car, it's pretty much different because all you notice is just the road. You don't really pay attention to the surroundings like this. But there's many footpaths that do venture off and cross right the way over into the countryside. It is really lovely. So right, just by Violet Lane, where the Fountain pub is, just right onto the corner, because many people have asked me where this is actually located. If you come down and turn on the right where the Ruskin place is, just onto the corner, it's just literally right the way at the top up to here. So I'll quickly just show you, just onto that corner right the way there. The castellati thing is just on a footpath. I think if you just go right the way up, it should just be right here. Yeah, just onto this corner here. You can just see it just peeking right the way out. Look at this. Just right the way out there, look, you can just see it. Really cool to see that. I remember going up to the path to come and take a look at it. But it's quite nice to see something like that, especially by Clent. I think most of it has something to do with Hagley Hall Estate. Let's just go and have another look. So right, this is it. I think there is a bit of information online behind this. You can just see it right the way there, look. So right, I've just been told to get off the land. I don't get that because there's no signs there saying keep off private property, but there is a path going all the way around, which is quite of a strange one. So I've just showed you a little bit of it. I was going to go and show it, yeah, but because he told me to get off, I've got off. But I was kind of like worrying then, someone that was shouted at me. Never got told off for looking at it before, but I was told about it by a local, so quite of an odd one. So right, this is actually the footpath what I'm taking. It's going all the way down. That place what's on the right, inside the grounds there, because technically I wasn't in the grounds. There's a big house in there, and the house actually dates far back a bit. It's a shame I can't show it you because you can't really see it from here. But there is a public footpath what does sort of go by the side of it. It's just right the way in the grounds over there, and all this land here also belongs to that Ruskin onto the corner. But because this is a public footpath, you can actually go up here. So right, this is what I wanted to show. This is how I found Clent Castle. And what's strange is classed as a walking route because it's got their routes, places of interest, Clent Castle. Looking down, it says they're public. And it says there, Clent Castle is a sham ruin cast like folly in the grounds of Clent Grove, opposite the Fountain Inn and Adam's Hill in Clent. It was built in the 18th century by Thomas Leal, and it has been designated by the English Heritage as a Grade 2 listed building. So the English Heritage should let you have rights realistically go and view that Clent Castle. So I can't see what harm was done by me just going to take a look at it just by the path. I really have no idea. But it's definitely stated all on the internet you can actually visit it for some reason. It's a bit of an odd one, that's why I went up there, because there was no signs saying you couldn't take a look at Clent Castle. So, a bit of an odd one, don't understand that. And there was even a mark in a route somewhere on the internet of a path going up, saying you could walk on it. So right, here we are, this is actually a North Worcestershire path. Look at the surrounding fields, what the Hagley Hall Estate has. And just right the way down there, because see a giant redwood tree, a Wellingtonia. Let's go and take a look at it. And this is why this path's my favourite, because you've got the open vast land on this side. So not too far to go down on journey to take a look at it, but I will just show you that tree right the way down in the distance. Way up. Look how tall that tree is up. Absolutely amazing just to see that from below. Really thick trunks. They do have like these trees, they do have like a little bit of like a bloom on there. You can just see right there, look. Pretty cool. Wow. Look at the grounds what the Hagley Hall Estate has. I mean, look at that, zooming right the way in. You can just see the estate itself, the big house. It's lovely to see it from that side, because when you go for the main gates you don't really see the Hagley Hall Estate like that from this side. The side where you go round with the churches. But look how big the place is. I do know it suffered from a fire. It actually burnt. It was then all repaired. But there's much history behind the house. It is really quite interesting. You can pay £10 to go and have a look at the house inside. It isn't much money, but it is definitely worth it. So right, that is actually the main entrance into Hagley Hall. The public entrance is just down here by where the mews is. The mews is really old onto the corner. I can just about see it when I zoom in. Just onto the left down the bottom. Many stuff onto there. I know there's the Birmingham Anglers Association. I used to go there to buy tickets for fishing. There's a few other things over there. So that part of it is actually occupied. I don't know if it's actually rented towards the Hagley Hall Estate, so they're renting it out. But I do know it was so old, the mews is. And all this ground many years ago was all big one part of the estate. Just like Witchbury Hill, you had the monuments, the Temple of Theseus, all joined into one ground. No roads like this, just all field. And having all that by it, it's really quite cool. So if many of you know what the mews was for in the Hagley Hall Estate, then drop it into the comments. Like I said, I'm not going to go over too much history in this video on Hagley Hall Estate, because I've already covered it in a video, but that is quite an interesting side. And there is also temples in the Hagley Hall Estate gardens, what I'm situated on this side of it. There's a temple, but you can't go in there. It's part of the estate, so it ain't public access on that side. But you can just see here, look at the mews. This is actually the mews now, all here, look. Look at the windows on there. Look at that. You can definitely tell it's old. There's like bricks on there missing, look. And look at the old doors onto here. It's there, Hagley Hall Mews. It's actually, these are flats. So it does actually say what's on it, man. I'm quite interested to see what's still on here. Alright, so there is like 42 parts of the mews. You can just see there, the National Trust, BAA number 30, that Birmingham Anglers Association. Like I said, that's where I got my licences from for fishing. It's there, Shelley, halesowen, Ashchurch, Hagley Eye Care, a few other things as well. JWC Financial Solutions, quite a lot. So right, this is a Hagley Hall Estate, look at this. Really nice and big just to see the house from that corner, and on that side there's a path down the bottom where you're seeing the back end of the Hagley Hall. But look how big that is, really a large estate. I've definitely got to do the inside tour. I haven't done it yet, but I told it was only a tenner to go in. rang the doorbell at the back and they answered and told us. But that's definitely on my list to do for the channel. Whether you can film it, I really don't know. But I think you have to get special permissions for that. But if I come right the way down, the church is right the way in front, and then you've got this on the corner, the other side to the Hagley Hall Estate itself. So right, here's the last parish. I'm glad it's open because I wanted to show you this one. But look at that, you've even got the old flags right around top up there. Look at the flags. I do know those are really old. I've got a bit of dates behind them. Wow. It is nice to come to this one. This one's open all the time. Weekends, days. In the week it closes, I think, in the afternoon. But it does tell you up there, George the Lord Lyttelton died the 24th, 1773, aged 64. Look at that, there's also another Lyttelton. There's so many Lytteltons. Thomas Lord Lyttelton, the 27th of November, 1779, aged 35. Or is that 35 or 55? I'll have a quick zoom in just to show you. It's hard to read it from the bottom floor from here. It could be 35. Really quite cool information there, but you can see, look at the architecture within this church. You see there, look at that. Really quite cool. You've got the bells right the way up there, look. And that's actually the door that goes right the way up. I think it is locked. Could be locked, yeah. That's locked all the time. I would love to go into one of those. I have got a video on my channel of me going inside a bell tower from a dilapidated church, what isn't looked after. But looking for me, we've got even more Lytteltons. But look at the stained glass window. Let's pan around and show you. Look at that, you've got the stained glass window right up there. Look at that one. That one's got some really nice patterns. When the sun shines through that, the colour of the patterns sometimes beam down onto the floor. I've seen it a few times. It is really beautiful. But coming down to the middle of the church, you can just see, same as St Leonard's church and also St Kenelm's, you've got the wooden features on top of the ceiling on both sides. So you can just definitely tell there isn't any new added features onto it. The whole of this church is definitely all old. But let's go and take a look at these stained glass windows on this side. So let's have a look at this one on here. There is stuff on the bottom of here. But look at that one, looking right the way up. Nice colours into them. It does say, zooming in onto that one, William Cobham Gibbs, rector of Hagley, 1884 to 1903, who died the 8th of March 1918. And of his two sons and great-grandsons, right there, something Turner. But you can see there as well, you've got John Turner, rector of Hagley, for 40 years, 1807 to 1847. Oh, wow. Nice to see the information and history at the bottom of the stained glass windows, but look at those, right the way to the top. But looking right there, you can just see all the different types of stained glass windows as walking down, but that is quite cool. Look at this. This is the north aisle coffin lid. Look at this here. Wow. So that is it is known who was buried in this tomb, but it may have been the rector of the parish at the time. The church was rebuilt in the 13th century. It stood in the north wall and was moved to its present position when the north aisle was added in 1827. Oh wow, look at that. Nice little interesting feature. So maybe there is some things buried within there. But it's nice to see that. Look at the architecture of that. And then coming to the front of the church, this is a nice bit. You can just see the front altar here where they do the speeches, look. Got some beautiful patterns onto there. But looking at it, look at this. Wow. That's a nice bit of the church here, look at that, zooming in. Because the stained glass windows from there. And the beautiful patterns with the clothing, what's on the table in front. Look at that. Really nice, some really nice features of churches, and that light just hanging from the ceiling, look at that one. Absolutely amazing, I've really enjoyed looking at this one. To come to Hagley Hall Church for the final parish is really interesting, and that's basically my parish walk from St Kenelms to St Leonard's to St John's Church. You can really see the interesting architecture of the churches, how they have different designs. They're really nice just to see. But if you're into things like this in architecture, then you will definitely love churches. I love buildings, halls, abandoned buildings, that see the architecture of them, and churches are definitely my favourite for the areas and black country surrounding parts. But wow, that's basically it for the video today. So I hope you've enjoyed me going around the walk, the parishes. But we'll see you in the next one. I am going to look into doing Clent Hills, Walton Hill, into probably the next few videos maybe. But I've got a few more favourite walks to show you. But it's been a fantastic one. Thank you very much if you watched this far. Enjoy the rest of the cinematics of St John the Baptist, and I will see you in the next video. Peace out everybody, and take care. Yeah.